On this episode, the yields of Enlist E3 are nothing to shake a stick at. In fact, they are quite impressive. Here are thoughts as we weigh in on Saltro, the newest and best SDS treatment on the market. President Trump is talking trade again with China and Japan. We have a field report from Area Sales Manager Matt Canterbury about the Dectes Stem Borer infestation in Missouri. Listen in to learn more about this invasive pest that is moving north.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Welcome to Cup of Joe, Season 2, Episode number 9. Today we have Tommy and Turk and Ben, and we got a lot of things to talk about, so we're going to dive right into it. Ben, you're hearing some yields. What's going on? Are these E3 soybeans yielding?
Yes, absolutely. We are seeing we have actually a field, seed production field of Mohawks that just came off, and yield reports are in the 72, 73 yield check from off the monitor. We're seeing other seed production fields come out down south. Things are looking wonderful. Higher yields than anybody was expecting. With all the moisture that we had, they were thinking that we'd be looking at closer to 50 bushel beans, but so far we haven't seen anything down in that range yet. So
yeah, I was talking to one of our growers over at near La Harpe, which is by Macomb, and he's reporting that the Apaches, which is on Enlist E3 soybean, is going to average 77, and despite some drowned out areas and some tough areas, but he said reports over 100 bushel yields in spots and consistently in the 80s in a lot of spots. So I'm thinking these E3 soybeans are going to do really, really well this year.
Absolutely. And our seed treatment and is working then, isn't it, Joe?
Well, there's no question about it. I really feel the improvement of the biostimulants helps the seedling get through that stress, that critical stress of the spring. And speaking of yield, I thought it would be important to just kind of reiterate what is behind the breeding, behind the Enlist E3 and LibertyLink GT27. Between the two programs, we evaluate over 700,000 lines. I'm going to read this right off the line. We have 113 Enlist E3 locations, 120 LibertyLink locations, LibertyLink GT27 locations. 487,360 total number of plots are harvested for data in a single year, and that was last year, and we keep doing more every year.
How many plots, Joe?
Almost 500,000.
Wow.
Awful. And so we have, in that reality, our breeding program, the MS Technology breeding program, that is our sister company, has one of the largest breeding programs in the United States, and the same management has been there for 51 years that have been breeding our soybeans, is breeding the LibertyLink GT27 and Enlist E3. So again, additional yields will be coming in. We'll keep reporting, but there's no question about it that it has value. And speaking of value, what is one of the new optional seed treatments from Mershman Seeds that you can get this year, Tommy, that adds additional yield?
It is Saltro, Joe. And it on the front line here it says SDS Protection Upgraded. So I wanted to kind of hit on that a little bit here. We've had a Levo in the past, which was a great product for its time. We worked through the halo and the phototoxicity issues that may have had with that product. And what's really exciting about Saltro over Levo is 3 bushels. So
that's when we have high pressure, right?
That's exactly right. So 3 bushel per acre treated with Saltro over a Levo seed-treated beans. So what's really nice about that, and there's a lot of confusion out in the marketplace right now, Joe, because, again, a Levo is a good product for its time, and it does what it needs to do other than the phototoxicity part of damaging the beans and not promoting the root health at the beginning of the early stages of the soybean. Now, what you're hearing is a lot of confusion of, well, Saltro's not the real deal. Levo's still the trusted, patented product that has been proven time and time again. I understand that, but Saltro, in our eyes and the data that we have to back it up, is that it's a more superior product and it's a lot more healthier for your soybeans. I'll have Alex post on during my presentation here, but there's a nice picture here of the root health comparative between the two, so you guys will be able to see that. Now what's interesting, Joe, is that other companies out there are pushing a Levo because they have supply agreements in place. And when you have a big pile of something and you need to sell it, obviously you're really going to market it. And with Saltro here it's just a better product. And we're upfront and we're honest about it. In higher pressure situations, that 3 bushel per acre over a Levo pays for itself more times than none, and it's a far healthier and superior product over the competitor check. So what I kind of wanted to say is, again, we're not owned by a chemical company. So when we see these things, and we've tested it back and forth between the two products of Saltro and Alivo, and Saltro has won us over as far as profitability to bring to the farmer. So again, to clear the air, we feel that Saltro is a better product. We're not owned by a chemical company, and we're going to present information and products that is only going to benefit the farmer. So
I totally agree. I mean, as a family-owned seed company, we work for the farmer. We don't work for the stockholders of a big chemical company. Yep. And so the bottom line is, I do believe it's in my heart that it's a better treatment. Turk and I have been in the field with it for the last 2 years, looked at it very carefully, did a lot of research on it, because we will not put our endorsement on it unless it's going to help the farmer increase his yield. And at the end of the day, we are responsible to our customers for profitability. And right now they're really struggling when it comes to profitability because of the low soybean prices. And so every penny that they spend has got to give them some type of return. And the Saltro is a great place if you have sudden death or if you have nematodes.
Yeah, and it's also a bushel and a half advantage over Alivo in non-high sensitive areas. So, I mean, that's something to think about too, but it's, as far as uniform emergence and healthier root mass, earlier stages in the soybean plant, that's very big.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
We focus on giving that farmer the best opportunity to create profit for his farm. That's all we think about. These supply agreements you're talking about really are good for the companies that have them.
It's good, yeah.
But it's not good for the farmer if we've got a new and better product out there, because they're making them stay with it longer than they should.
Well, and I think that's why you see some seed companies or seed reps that, you know, if they get their orders from the head shed that says, okay, we got a bunch of Alivo left before we switch to Saltro, we need to get rid of it. So they're going to, you know, these stories that are out there of, you know, well, Saltro's just an old product, it's not real, it's just a marketing gimmick, or it's, you know, we have the data for you. We look to see their data. I mean, that's all. We're willing to be tested, and we're willing to back it up at the same time.
It's a good product. And,
so, absolutely.
And you know, the best thing, on Monday, we get our first shipment. So we'll have it in the warehouse, ready to start putting it on seed as farmers apply it. And I think definitely take a look at it if you have nematode problems or if you have need for sudden death control.
From a retail standpoint and the downstream treating side of things, Saltro is night and day better difference as far as usability on treated downstream treaters. I mean,
it's a better formulation. There's no question about it. The Alivo formulation was hard. Now, those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the formulation is the way the active ingredient is carried to the seed. And the reality of it is, if it sticks on the side of the bin, or if it comes out in chunks, or if it builds up somewhere, that means that's active ingredient you're not getting on the seed, and that's protection that you paid for that you're not getting. So one of the things at Merchant Seeds that we look at when we purchase a seed treatment, we look just as hard at the formulation as we do the active, because the reality is, if you can't deliver the active on the seed because the formulation's crappy, you really didn't help the farmer any.
No, that's right.
So we look at both things, and we only use products that have good formulations that will put the active on the seed, and then we also look at the dust control and polymers and all those things that keep it on the seed so it's not puffing up in the air as you're dumping the seed into your planter. So those are all critical elements when you buy seed treatment. And I know there's companies out there that have lower cost seed treatment, but they probably are not paying any attention to dust off. They're not paying any attention to how the active stays on the seed, and you know, and how it's building up in the bins and all the other things that come into play. So get what you pay for, and that's one of the things that I get really upset when I see any of those issues going on with seed treatment. And by the way, our plant has been totally renovated. We put a brand new treatment system in, and we also have our Olmsted plant down in southern Illinois that we work with Rough Diamond Conditioning, and they have a brand new system too. So everything that we are doing this year is to produce higher quality seed, better treated seed, and again, give the farmer the value that he's paying for. Turk, what do you have for us?
I just have a few comments about what's going on with the trade issues. You know, Trump had kind of a tough week this week, and But there was some good things that come out of it. He did get an agreement signed with Japan that's going to be good for the farmers. I mean, the winners in the Japanese, or the agreement with Japan, are going to be pork, beef, and wheat. I mean, that's a big deal for all of those markets. Again, they're probably not going to be a big importer of soybeans because they don't have the way to do it. So they want finished product, and that's the pork and the wheat, or pork and the beef, and then the wheat is going to be another thing that they're going to bring in.
Well, that's a good deal.
And it's a really good deal.
50% of the grain that we produce in the United States goes to livestock feed. So
the China folks were in town and talking. They'll be back in 2 weeks, and so that's good as well. If you remember, Trump delayed the implementation of the tariffs until October 15th. So this puts that trade agreement, or this next negotiation, in just ahead of that next deadline, so to speak. So look for something to happen.
If you put things into perspective, the big news in China is their African swine virus. Some people estimate 25 to 50% of their hogs have died from it. So their number of pigs that they have, I understand they're rationing pork over there. I mean, they're going to have to come to the table, and they're going to need a lot of pork. Folks that are well fed are not usually mean and upset. They're usually pretty happy, and they're going to have to take care of their population at some point. So I think, if we just can weather the storm, I really think that we have the potential to come out with some really good trade deals.
Absolutely. And the only other thing I had, Joe, is the drought index came out again this week, and the Midwest is the drought monitor is showing that it's improving, but the Southeast is dramatically increasing in that drought. The south and up into even the north in the Carolinas, and so we know that major droughts in the Midwest always come from the east, right. And so something to stay tuned on. Nothing alarming yet. We'll see what happens, but just something to keep an eye on.
That's good information.
Ben, I know we're going to go back to you because you got a field report about an insect that really concerns us. Tell us about it.
Yep, we have one of our area sales reps and a very good agronomist in northeast Missouri that wants to inform us a little bit about what he's seeing with Dectes Stem Borer that's traveling north. So I'm going to cut it to Matt out in the field.
This is Matt Canterbury, ASM from Mershman Seeds in our northeast Missouri territory. Today we're taking a look from the field at the Dectes Stem Borer in Knox County, Missouri, about an hour northwest of Quincy, Illinois. This field here I had originally diagnosed with brown stem rot. When I went back to grab samples, I began noticing broken off and wilted petioles and leaves not consistent with BSR. As you can see here, where I'm pointing to an entry point where an adult female laid one single egg. Adult females can live 4 to 8 weeks, laying up to 50 eggs. Once the egg hatches, the larvae will tunnel into the stem, causing nutrients and water uptake to reduce almost completely, not allowing pods to fill and new pods to abort. Once we found our entry point, we split the stem from that point down to the root where the larvae will tunnel and winter. Look for the brown pith that the larvae has girdled, and it should be in that section working its way to the soil line. Here the larvae is full grown and can reach a length of 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch. Here you can see the adult larvae has been working from the entry point at the top of the plant. You can see the white pith below that it hasn't girdled yet on its way to the roots where it will winter and begin its cycle again. Believed to be a one-generation insect, there is concern it could now have 2 generations. This is your entry point where the petiole has fallen off. You'll notice a reddish-brown spot that has been sealed off to protect the larvae. The egg is laid here and the small larvae will bore into the stem. This is the damage that can result from the larvae. Sometimes the entry point can be higher in the plant, which can cause lodging issues that also result in yield loss and time. The larvae here has moved down the stem and girdled the pith. There are no insecticides to control Dectes Stem Borer due to its life cycle. I would encourage everyone to be scouting fields now to find the issue ahead of the combine so you know exactly what did happen in your field. This injury could result in 12 to 15% yield reduction in infected plants, Lightly working soil and minimum till situations can help reduce populations. Here at Mershman Seeds, we are seeing some traits that are possibly less susceptible. Thanks for watching. This is Matt Canterbury in the field.
Well, that was a great report, Matt. And the big thing that we want to talk about Dectes Stem Borer is that we've not seen it this close to home. I mean, it's normally been a problem in southern Nebraska, Kansas, across the southern part of Missouri, southern part of Illinois, and this is moving north, and this is another concern, and definitely something that farmers should keep an eye on.
Yeah, one of the things about that is the management practice, and what he talked about in that video was, to do a minimum style tillage is one of the best ways to do it. And one of the fastest ways to check if you have Dectes Stem Borer in your field, if you don't want to do it at the time when the plant's growing, like what Matt did in the video there, is you get out of the combine and you check between your header and your front tire before the trash gets thrown out of the back of the combine, and you'll be able to see hollowed out little stems, and more than likely than not, in that hollowed out stem you split it and you'll find the little larva.
Yeah, the Dectes Stem Borer overwinters in the root. So what I've seen them do, Ben, is once the combine takes it off, cuts it off, and you got a stem with a hole in, they come back up and seal that off, and then they got a nice little home for winter.
Right.
So what you're saying is a lightly
a minimum tillage style deal with like a disc or something where you can get over all of the dirt, and you peel up their little home that they made and you flip it up so that stem's exposed to cold temperatures. It should be able to kill the majority of the larvae that you have.
Because they're down in the root, and then you move that up to the surface, and then more than likely you'll reduce the population.
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah. Lastly, I'd like to just wrap up with saying, don't forget about wheat. Mershman Seeds is the leader when it comes to innovative germplasm. We have a variety called Millie 7, which is the earliest wheat we've ever seen in the history of our company. Why would you want an ultra early wheat? So that you can harvest your wheat earlier to get a better chance to raise a higher yielding double crop. And as you know, wheat is a long day plant. It matures as the days get longer. So every day that you can get in before the longest day of the year, because the weather always changes. It always changes. Well, after the longest day of the year, it turns out to be hot and dry. So the earlier you can get in, you got more subsoil moisture, you got more surface moisture, you can get that plant established, that soybean plant, that double crop, and give you higher yield. We also have another variety called Julie 10, which is a medium early, and is very high yield, very disease resistant. Still have supply, and if you call, we haul. So let us know, okay? That wraps up this week's episode of Cup of Joe, and we'll see you next week. As always, thank you for your business. Have a safe harvest, and look forward to talking to you. Take care.